Hey guys, what's up? It's Ripe again. In today's video, my insane neighbor Karen pulls a gun on me when I refuse to give her my service dog. Here is what happened. Let's dive right into the story. The title story starts like this. Having a service dog comes with the sad fact that you will constantly have to explain to people that they cannot pet or distract it. What makes it worse is that my dog is for cardiac alert, which in part means people cannot look at me and see that I have a disability. They don't bother reading the vest and just come up to pet or say hi to my dog without permission. And by the way, you shouldn't do this even with a regular dog either. Most of the time it works out fine, where I tell them they need to leave her be because she is a service animal. The one person that doesn't seem to get it is the Karen that lives next door to me. She is one of those people that believes if she cannot see a disability, then it doesn't exist. She has no issues always coming up and distracting my dog. To make matters worse, she always tells her kid that he can come and say hi to my dog as well. I don't want to say that the kid is entitled because I've never seen him throwing a tantrum or hitting or anything like that. I mean, yes, he pets my dog, but he's also about 4 years old and kids will listen to their parents over everything else. To make matters worse though, this person is also an HOA Karen and loves bringing it up like it means she is important. I'm always telling her that she is a service dog and I need her to stop distracting my dog because it could be dangerous for me. As well as telling her that it is illegal because intentionally distracting a service dog is akin to tampering with medical equipment. If something happens to me because of what she is doing, she can be found responsible. I'm lucky that has never been the case, but things did come to a boil one day when we were having our usual debate about my dog when I took her outside for a walk. Karen, oh look, sweetie, it's your friend. Go pet her and say hi. Me, please don't tell him it's okay to pet my dog. I've told you every single time I run into you that she is working for me. It says so on her vest and I've told you before to leave me alone. I don't want to report you, but this is about the 10th time and I will if I have to. Karen, first of all, you cannot report an HOA leader. I have a duty to this community and that includes making sure all the animals are well treated and behave with children. Me, even if that was a rule, it doesn't apply to my dog. The ADA laws trump any and all of your HOA rules. To her child, sweetie, please don't pet my dog. She is working and doing a very important job to make sure that I am healthy. Karen, how dare you speak to my child? Between that and having a dog to lure them in, I bet you're some kind of sicko. Dogs are made for children to love and care for, and you don't even have one. Plus putting her in that horrible vest just so you can get away with anything you want. My kid deserves her way more than you. So you need to just hand us the leash and walk away. Me, you must be nuts if you think I'm giving you my dog. Karen, I think you're dumb if you don't give me the dog. I had a lot more to say, trust me, but once a gun appeared in Karen's hands and was pointed at me, my mouth went dry. You might say I'm too sheltered, but I've never actually seen a gun in person before. And by the way guys, if you've never had a gun pointed at your face, I'm not really sure if you can consider that sheltered. I think most people never had a gun pointed at them in their lives if they are civilians, at least I hope so. I was frozen on the spot and my heart rate started to skyrocket due to fear. My dog had no idea the danger that a gun possesses, but she was jumping into action for a different reason. Like I said before, she is used for cardiac alerts and sensing my heart beating fast out of nowhere caused her to alert and try to get me to go on the ground. Also, the fact that I wasn't responding much made her start barking in order to get other people's attention. One of my neighbors came out because my dog barking was unnatural and it drew his curiosity. I don't know if he saw Karen pull the gun on me or just the two of us standing there. All I know is that I heard distorted yelling of a man's voice and Karen's voice. My heart was causing me to almost faint, but I was able to figure out what happened after I started to come back around. My neighbor ran at Karen and when she refused to put down the gun, he managed to disarm her and actually take the gun himself. Then when she tried to attack him to get the gun back, he knocked her out. Once the police and paramedics arrived and made sure I was fine, I got the whole story of what happened. The police were also very calm about my neighbor knocking Karen out and were chatting with him. It turns out that he retired from the police and knew all the guys that showed up on the scene. He told them about Karen pointing a gun at me and even vouched that he was sure whatever I said happened was gonna be the truth. I told them everything as well as made sure my dog knew she did a very good job at alerting for the issue. She got a ton of treats and pets for making sure I stayed safe and didn't end up in a really bad medical position. Karen had to get checked out too once she was off the ground to make sure she didn't need to go to the hospital either. Then she gave her statement about how I stole her son's seeing eye dog and she wanted me arrested. giving the same facts about messing with the service animal that I lectured her with before. Speaking of the son, he got scared with all the commotion and was hiding behind a tree in his house. He was scared but actually totally fine. The police didn't believe Karen, but asked if I had my dog's papers just so they could confirm things and cause less hassle for everybody later. I showed them the paperwork and they told Karen it was my dog. She really thought she could say whatever and just go back into her house, trying to stand up and walk away. I have no idea how, after trying to steal my medical equipment and pointing a gun at me, she assumed nothing was gonna happen. She was arrested and tried to explain that she was allowed to have the gun because she was part of the HOA and needed to make sure people were safe. Again, thinking HOA rules went above the actual laws. She was found guilty of attempted robbery with a deadly weapon and sent to jail. To make matters worse, it was not her gun, so that added even more charges against her. I think her sister or cousin or something moved into the house to take care of the little boy, but she is nothing like Karen. She even explained to the kid that my dog was doing important work and he could think my dog was nice but could not pet her. I am so glad and thankful for both my amazing service dog and my other neighbor for helping me in the scariest moment of my entire life. And yeah, ripe stars, what is it with Karens that always feel entitled to either pet or even steal a service dog? Honestly, if I had a service dog and this entitled Karen even came near it, I would probably go nuclear on her. Either way, let's continue with the next story. It is titled Employee Revenge. It was the early 1990s and I worked for a telemarketing company with the initials SMC in Logan, UT. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think UT means Utah. I was employed for 2 full days when I came to the conclusion that we were just scamming old people out of their money using grossly unethical methods. I quit after my second day of work, and when I received my paycheck, I noticed that I was paid minimum wage instead of the $10 per hour I was promised when they hired me, so I went back to complain. The office manager told me, "You didn't finish the 90-day probationary period, so you only get minimum wage." Total BS. They never said anything about a probationary period in training, and I know it wasn't in the contract I signed upon hire. Yeah, I actually read it before signing it. As the office manager opened the door to have me leave, he said, "See ya, I wouldn't wanna be ya." I was fuming. I called the city offices and discovered that SMC didn't have a business license and I reported them. Less than an hour later, I watched as the police showed up and told them they would have to shut down operations until they had a business license. It, by the way, took them around 2 weeks. When they were back in business, I used an elaborate scheme to get myself on their call list and recorded several of their employees' efforts to sell me their crap. It was Utah and legal to record the calls. I knew what they were doing wasn't just unethical, it was simply illegal. Not only did I report it to a local news station who had their consumer report, Debbie Duchanovic, do a 2-part story on the scummy company, but I also reported them to the FBI. The owner of the company was one of the 200+ people that were arrested by the FBI in a nationwide sting of dishonest telemarketing companies. The FBI called it Operation Disconnect. See ya, wouldn't wanna be ya. And yeah, ripe stars, that probably has to be the pinnacle of satisfactory revenge. If you enjoy the story so far, please don't forget to leave a comment and maybe even drop a like on the video if you enjoy my content. The next one is titled Family Revenge. My granddad had lived down the road from us since before I could remember. He would always play with me and my sister when my mom had to work, and I thought of him as my second father. He kept a really expensive platinum necklace on as a keepsake for my grandma, as he always told me stories about her and the wars he served. Some backstory now on my aunt's family. They were basically people who refused to work and were actually proud of scamming the government to pay for their lifestyle. Through benefits, they would falsely claim mental disability and being obese as a justification to not work. At the time, getting as much as my mom would at her full-time job. My cousin had literally texted me at the time that he doesn't want to work and instead play on his Xbox. This idiot. You're a grown-ass 26-year-old man, act like it. They never visited my granddad, and for good reason. He was physically disgusted with the lot of them. So here is when the story starts. My granddad winds up in the hospital due to a heart attack. My mom, my sister and me show up to care for him, and after 3 days when the doctors explain that he hasn't gotten much time left and to say our goodbyes, EA, evil aunt, rocks up with her family, so much for being so ill that he cannot drive to get a job. They ask how much time he has left, us wanting to be civil told them and let them in to talk to him. He then passes away after another day, and we get together to decide how he would want his funeral. Since my grandma was buried in Cornwall, we decided to hold the ceremony there so that they can be buried together. Cornwall was also about 300 miles away, but we thought it would be worth it, and I still lay down flowers every year. EA and her family not only don't want to go down to Cornwall, they refuse to chip in even 50 pence down for anything. So they decide to stay up and watch his house. I know many red flags, but we were mourning, so we didn't think it through. The funeral was beautiful, heartfelt eulogies that brought memory after beautiful memory. All was well, except they had dug the wrong plot and they decided to tell us during maybe one of Granddad's way of making us laugh up there until we got home. It was empty. Anything of value of the house was gone, and the only thing left behind was some paintings from my grandma. She was a really good artist, and me liking art as well decided to keep them. We went to Evil Aunt's place and they denied everything. We had nothing on her at the time, so we decided to file a police report and left it at that. Until 3 weeks later, when we came around to visit and see if everyone was coping. My mom had noticed some new expensive things like new TVs, new PlayStation, the works, and she began to suspect something as well as me and my sister until EC, evil cousin, comes in. He is wearing my granddad's platinum necklace. I asked him where he got it from and he told me he had bought it with some money he got from selling pot. Yes, he sold pot as well, but I know that's my granddad's necklace. We get in the car and all of us are seething. They are no longer family. We needed revenge. So now I mentioned before that they had been falsifying their medical records so that they receive benefits from the government. Every time we would go over and sneakily take photos of everything they had just bought, as well as my EC's stash of pot and my uncle's collection of stolen goods. Forgot to mention he would steal big items off of vans and then sell them online for an extra profit. We collected every text message of them bragging about their many fancy holidays and them refusing to want to work, compiled a case report and anonymously sent it to the claimant investigators and let them do their jobs. A month later, I hear from one of my other cousins, nice girl, training to become a nurse, and I really admire that she didn't take the path of her family, that EA and uncle got their benefits taken off them and had criminal charges and had to pay restitution to the businesses they stole off, and my EC got arrested for dealing pot. They are now financially screwed. I think the last time I talked to them was them asking for money. Since I came from a well-off family, they thought I could convince my mom, she doesn't want to speak to them, and I told them to F off. And the next one is an Am I the Jerk story. So this happened when I was 24 and my sister is still pissed about it and thinks I was the a-hole. I just want to see if I am or not. Long story short, I won a raffle at my job for an all-expense-paid family vacation. It was not a super fancy price to Disneyland or anything crazy, it was just a 3-day stay at this little beach house in place. It was for 4 people. I asked my new boyfriend at the time to go, but he couldn't because of school. I told nobody that I won, but when I came down to visit my family for the weekend, my sister was there with my niece and nephew, who are the 2 brattiest kids I've met thanks to sister not disciplining them ever. I love them, but she lets them get into everything and never watches them unless someone, me or our mom, yells at her to get off her butt and watch them. Visiting is always a chore, and because I end up watching them to give our mom a break. It's pathetic. I had considered inviting them to come before I arrived, but the longer I was there, the more I hated that idea. By the time I was packing up to go home, I knew I was not inviting them. She dumped them on me the entire time like usual, and I knew if they came it would turn into me babysitting them while she had a vacation. So I didn't mention it. Next day I told my friend Megan, because she has 2 kids, older than sister's kids and very well behaved, and she is a single working mom who could use the vacation. I offered to invite her along if she would pay for the gas to get us all to/from there, and she happily agreed. We went and had a blast. I got a pretty good tan, we ate lots of buffet food and did fun family-type activities all weekend before coming back. I posted some pictures I took, nothing in your face, just a couple cute ones of me/us on the beach, and when I got back and before lunch even rolled around, sister was blowing up my phone asking how the hell I could afford a vacation. I told her it was a raffle prize, she asked who won and I said me. She flipped her crap demanding to know why I hadn't invited her. I was honest and said because I didn't want to babysit her kids for my entire vacation. She called me an a-hole, said I knew she needed a vacation, and then hung up on me. Later, mom called asking why I promised niece/nephew that I would take them on vacation. I said I never told them that I would. It turns out sister told them we were all supposed to go on vacation, but I ruined it and now they couldn't. So they sobbed all day, I explained my side and mom said I was mean to not invite sister/niece/nephew. However, she dropped it after I said I wasn't babysitting my whole vacation. I could have invited them, but I just didn't want to. Sister thinks family should come before friends. So, Reddit, am I the a-hole? And yeah, Ripe Stars, I will redirect this question to you. Do you think that OP is the a-hole here or not? Let me know in the comments. And people on Reddit said, not the a-hole. Your sister lied to your family to get them on her side because she knew damn well your reasoning for not taking her was legitimate. Screw your sister, you don't need her. If she wants to stay mad at you for her inability to be a parent, then she can stay mad. You do you. Live your best life, plus from the way it sounds, you gave Megan a well-deserved vacation. Comment number 2, nope, not the a-hole, your sister sounds lazy and entitled as hell. Vacations are supposed to be fun and relaxing, not stress-inducing and another level of hell. Update. Edit to those feeling sad for my niece and nephew for getting lied to about a vacation. It's all good. I took them to this kid's play place the weekend after my vacation. They ate pizza, played arcade games, got to climb this huge indoor jungle gym thing and even ride a couple kiddie rides. They had a blast. They even forgot all about the beach. Edit number 2, to those saying, you should have just lied and said you saved up for the vacation. If I did that, then my sister, who thinks I secretly make 6 figures at my above minimum wage job, would have started hounding me for who the hell knows for how long for a loan that I wouldn't ever get back to even if I could afford to give it. It was a lose/lose situation. Edit number 3, oh my god, I didn't force my friend to pay for all the gas like some jerk. She paid for the gas and I paid for everyone's food and drinks to and / from the vacation. We stopped and got breakfast on the way and got lunch on the way back. We took my car there since hers guzzles gas and mine doesn't, and we each decided these things together. The next one is titled Lee's Revenge. Let me preface this by noting that this revenge was not my doing, at least not exactly. It happened back in the 90s when I was in high school and centered around the type of school I attended. So, in case you were not aware, it is very common in agricultural communities to have what are known as farmer schools. That is not a technical term, but more just something easy to define them. The schools are generally organized by the local farmers, and while you still study the various courses needed to get into college, you also study farming technology courses and get credit hours for work study, in other words working on one or more farms. The area I lived in was surrounded by a number of large farms which grew cotton primarily, so during the year we would spend time out in the field both tilling, planting and harvesting. One of the farms near the school was this 1,000-acre spread that, like the others, grew mostly cotton, though sometimes they rotated to soybeans or silage. Basically corn, but you don't harvest it. This farm had a long partnership with the school, so the students provided near free labor for the farmer. The farmer leased this property from some out-of-state owner and paid them a portion of the revenue from the harvest. Imagine my surprise then when I and many of my classmates arrived at the farm to do our work study and the farmer instructed some to crew the sprayers and start spraying herbicide on the fields while others, myself included, were to take tractors and discs and plow everything under. The farmer wanted every square inch of the fields returned to just dirt. We were shocked to say the least, but after some discussion we set to work. It took us the better part of a weekend to do so, and then we were done. The field was in a beautiful, if barren, state. The farmer thanked each of us personally and paid us about $500 each, quite the sum for a 90s high school senior. We returned to the school, told our headmaster that the contract was completed, and he informed us that the farmer would no longer be working with the school and we would be sent to one of the other larger farms for the rest of the year and our work study. It was probably 2 or 3 months later before word started going around about why he had been instructed to destroy the crop. Granted, these were just rumors, but based on how things turned out for the farmer, I suspect there's some truth to it. So apparently the landowner had decided that he was not going to renew the lease the farmer had on the land. This lease renewal just so happened to fall a few weeks before harvest season would start. Given that the average cotton farm earns about $1,500 per acre, a 1,000-acre farm would easily net the owner $1.5 million. About $500K of that being pure profit. I don't know what the farmer's lease was, but it stands to reason that it was not anywhere near that. So this landowner had figured out a neat little trick. Let the farmer get a good crop planted and then refuse to renew the lease. The farmer would leave the plants in the field and the landowner would just need to pay some contractors to come harvest it, and they would earn a profit. Since at the time the farmer's lease was not yet up, he decided to prevent that from happening. His act of revenge against the owner was to prevent them from cashing in on their hard work. Sure, it destroyed his farm and he had to sell off almost everything he owned to buy some property for himself, but he had proved a point. The owner did try to sue the farmer, though he, the owner, really did not have a leg to stand on, or so I was told. I think the court ruled that since the farmer was still under the lease when he had the land tilled under, then it was his property to do with as he wished, and thus the landowner could not tell him what to do with his property. I learned a rather valuable lesson from that man beyond what I learned about farming. That lesson was, never ever cross someone with nothing to lose. Edit: since it was brought up in the comments, let me add some details here. Cotton is one of the few crops which leaves a negative nutrient value in the soil. Meaning that after harvest, even if you till the dead plants under, or even if you till them prior to harvest, you won't have as much nutrients as you started with. That is why farmers will plant another crop, usually winter wheat, in place and then till it under rather than harvesting it. This is something commonly called a green manure, but it works to put nutrients that the cotton pulled out of the soil back into it. While the ground would not have been completely dead or sterile, any crop planted on that tract of land without further treatment of the soil would not have produced the same acre per acre yield that a comparable crop would have had he gone to harvest and planted the secondary crop. Which means that the landowner would either have to plant the green manure and spend money that way, or pay by the ton to use artificial fertilizer. And with this, we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, please check out my endless playlist, where you can find thousands of hours of content. In addition, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to not miss any of my daily uploads. Thank you so much in advance, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.